Hey, what's up, YouTube? My name is NFTJ, aka Dolly Daddy, and I'm an NFT artist, a metaverse builder, and a play-to-earn gamer and content creator. I do play-to-earn gaming and metaverse building live streams on Twitch every weekday around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I also often give away crypto and NFTs on Twitch and Twitter and in my Discord. So if you'd like to catch a live stream, follow me on Twitter or join my Discord. All three links are in the description down below. So far, only gold and silver pass early access pass holders have been able to play big time, which I believe is only around 3 or 4,000 people. But access is about to open to Jade and then Ruby pass holders, which, if I remember right from the AMA, is about to expand the early access player base to around 30,000-ish people. So with all these noobs about to flood in, I figured I'd share 10 tips that I wish I knew when I first started playing several weeks ago. But before I share my 10 tips, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what to do when you first start playing, because the new player onboarding experience is pretty lackluster and just kind of drops you into the world like this. My guess is there will probably be more of a new player tutorial when the game fully launches, but for now it literally just plops you into the starting area and leaves you on your own to figure it out. Now so this is basically where around where it'll load you in at, right here on this beach. There are a few NPC bots scattered. There we go, bada boom. So yeah, you see these few NPC bots scattered around the starting area that if you go and talk to them will give you some getting started advice for new players, but there really is nothing indicating this if you don't just decide to go talk to them. Like, there's nothing really leading you to them. But yeah, so if you come talk to these bots, they'll give you a little bit of advice, some new player starting advice. And that really is the extent of the in-game new player tutorial. I think a screen also pops up when you first log on as a new player that shows you the basic controls. But if not, you can find them in the menu. So it's come up here to settings, controls, and this kind of gives you a rundown of all of the controls, just in case you don't get that pop up. So, when you first load in, you should be somewhere here on the beach, near Watertown. This is Watertown right in front of me. Watertown is the main city during early access, and really the only city. Well, there's also the Icy Waste outpost by the Icy Wastes, which is the highest level zone available in early access, and really the only thing there is to do in these towns, at least in early access, is to buy and sell from these NPC vendors. This is also where people tend to congregate who are looking for a group. So there are some vendors here that will hook you up with some basic starter gear. Got starter gear vendor, and I think if you come up here, this one, another starter gear vendor, so you can look at these to get some starting gear for whichever class pocket watch you're using. If you just come here to this path, I think there's a couple more vendors that have either starting gear or starting pocket watches. Pretty sure this one gives you starting pocket watches. You should have a starting pocket watch already, but just in case, yeah, you can come talk to these trainers that will give you some starting stuff. Oh, there we go. So yeah, come talk to these guys, get some gear, get some pocket watches, and then this little obelisk right here is where you can respec at any time for a little bit of gold, making it very easy to try out different builds so you can min-max or just find a play style you enjoy. As you're playing, you're going to be picking up these different pocket watches that you can equip here, or these pocket watch gears, excuse me, that you can equip here in your pocket watch. So the higher tier level pocket watch, the better stats it has, and also the more gears you can equip. And these gears expand your skill tree, allowing you to try out a bunch of different types of builds. So you definitely want to be saving these gears because they come with abilities that expand the skill tree. They'll let you get different spells and abilities to let you try a variety of different types of builds that you can make. Really, there's even ways you can do kind of like cross-class builds where you can have kind of a tanky healer type deal, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of variety in different builds and in the different gear. And here's where you come to respec. If you want to try out a different build, you can respec your stat points and your skills. One thing really quick though, I think if you have, so like say this this gear has firewall. So if I come here to, and here's my firewall. Now I wouldn't have firewall. If you have a basic skill tree, some of these are in, but it's really small, and as you get gears, it expands the skill tree. So this firewall wouldn't be here if I didn't have that gear equipped, and I have it maxed out. Now, if I were to delete that pocket watch and equip a new one before respecking, these 3 skill points that are stuck in here would be stuck in there forever. I'm pretty sure that's something that's going to get fixed because I think that's not how it's supposed to work. But if you're going to be, if you have skills or abilities with points in them that you got from a pocket watch gear, make sure you respec before you replace that gear. Otherwise, you can lose those skill points forever. So say if you have 30 skill points available, 3 of them are tied up in a gear, you delete that gear, you lose those 3 skill points. Instead of 30, even though you're level 30, you only have 27 now. And at that point, you might as well just get a whole new pocket watch and start leveling over again. Hopefully it's something they fix soon, but something to be wary of. If you're going to replace a gear in your pocket watch that has stat points in it, make sure you respec first. That way you keep those stat points. All right. So once you've got your starter gear equipped, it is time to dive into some instances. So come back down here to Watertown. You'll find portals to the low-level starter dungeons on the beach here by Watertown. So if you just come back down to this beach down here, see if maybe we can see one. There's one right there. So you come down here and you're going to look for these portals. These will let you into dungeon instances. And these ones on the beach can be really low level, level 1 to 7, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 1 to 9, that kind of thing. So you're going to want to start here for your first few levels. And once you get up to, you know, level 3 to 5-ish, you can start moving up here to the forest where we just were, past Watertown and No Man's Land. Yeah, once you get like level 3 to 5, I would start moving up here, start looking for portals up here in this forest. You go to the left of this forest and you'll get to No Man's Land. To the right is how you start getting towards the wastelands and icy wastes. So once you get into your teen levels and your early 20s, it's time to move to the wastelands from here in the forest. And then once you get into your mid to late 20s to early 30s, it's time to move to the icy wastes. I suggest you spend some time exploring the map so you know how to get to the different zones. Like I said, No Man's Land and the forest are right here, kind of this way, and then icy wastes and the wastelands are off this way. But yeah, so get to know the different zones since there's not an in-game map yet. But don't fret if you're in Watertown and your group is heading to, say, the wastelands and you don't know how to get there yet. Usually someone from the party will summon you once they find a dungeon portal. So you got, you know, it's not, you might you might not have to know your way around too well, but it's good to know your way around because one of the times is going to be a day where someone asks you to be the guy to run to the wasteland. And you don't want to be like level 30, like I still don't know how to get there. You know what I mean? So figure it out. It is a bit of a trek to the wastelands and icy from Watertown. So if you're making the run, I suggest you stock up on speed potions. And by the way, there are some shortcuts to get there, so maybe I'll make a video on that soon. Like, for example, the wasteland is in a giant crater, and you got to do this really long run around, long way to get there, but there's actually kind of a little shortcut where you can climb over the side of the crater that you're not really supposed to, but you can if you know exactly where to go up, and you can get there a lot quicker, that kind of thing. So figuring out those shortcuts definitely be helpful, saving you on some time. But like I said, speed potions are your friend. Get them and zoom everywhere fast as fuck, boy. Yeah. All right. So there's just your real basic starting out guide. Now let's move into my 10 tips that should help make your game progression much smoother. So my first tip is, see this right here is your pocket watch. My first tip is replace your pocket watch as soon as possible. Changing your pocket watch you have equipped is how you change your class. So this is a Chronomancer pocket watch. This is a that's also a Chronomancer pocket watch. This is a Quantum Fixer pocket watch. This is a Time Warrior pocket watch. So changing your pocket watch you have equipped right here is how you change your class. There are 4 classes available in early access: Chronomancer, Shadowblade, Time Warrior, and Quantum Fixer. You have a ranged DPS, which is your Chronomancer, a melee DPS, your Shadowblade, a tank, your Time Warrior, and a healer support, which is your Quantum Fixer. You start with a common tier 0 pocket watch. So this is an uncommon tier 4 pocket watch I have equipped right now. And it is trash. So you want to replace that pocket watch as soon as possible, regardless of what class you want to play. I'm going to be doing a live stream on Twitch tomorrow all day, which is the first day Jade players get access to the game. And I'm just going to hang out here in Watertown and give away a bunch of these high-level, high-tier pocket watches to new players. So if I were you and you're watching this video, but you missed out on this live stream and you're a new player, I would legit just go to Watertown and stand around and start asking if anyone can hook you up with a pocket watch above tier 0. The less time you spend leveling that common tier 0 watch, the better, because you're going to want to replace it with a higher tier, and when you replace it, you're going to have to start leveling all over again. Basically, you want to keep replacing your pocket watch until you get a good high rarity tier 6 pocket watch with good stats. So you'll likely be starting the leveling process over several times, but it gets faster and easier. It gets faster and easier each time with a better pocket watch because your character is more OP. So that leads me on to my next tip. Focus on one class first. Because of this pocket watch system, my next tip is to focus on one class first. Get one class to a high rarity T6 pocket watch. That way you can, and then get that, you got leveled up to like 30s or 40s so you can start doing the high level dungeons that drop the T6 pocket watches. That way you can farm for high rarity T6 pocket watches and high level dungeons of other classes, and that way you only have to go through the process of continually replacing and re-leveling pocket watches one time. And when you start leveling alt classes, you can just start with a good high rarity T6 pocket watch and twink it out with some good gear. So really just pick your main class. I honestly about ready to replace this one. I had this T4, but I recently got some rare T5s, T6s. So I already put so much time on this one because I didn't know better. I almost wanted to just wait to have a really good T6 to start over, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, you're gonna want to pick a main class. You're gonna want to get up to a nice, good rarity T6 pocket watch with good stats. And then once you have that class high level with a good pocket watch, then you can farm for good pocket watches, and then all your other classes you can start right off the bat with like a high rarity T6 watch. Twink them out with some good gear. Boom, bada bang. Your leveling experiences are going to be much smoother than the first time around. Because, like I said, you can solo in the game, but soloing with a tier 0 pocket watch is rough. Soloing is rough no matter what, but soloing with the tier 0 is not the business. I don't recommend it. So my third tip is higher tier is greater than higher rarity. As a general rule, higher tier is greater than higher rarity. So if you have a rare or like a legendary or a mythic T3 watch or a piece of gear, usually a T4 to 6 is going to be an upgrade, even if it's just like a common or an uncommon. Obviously, you're going to want to pay attention to the stats also and prioritize gear that buffs your main stat. So like say a Chronomancer is going to want gear with good intelligence stat bonuses because that is their primary stat. But just as a general rule, T or higher tier better than higher rarity. You got a rare T3 but a common T6. The T6 is usually going to be better even though it's a common and the T3 is a rare. So my fourth tip is equip a shield. You can wear gear from any class in the game, but gear usually requires stats to be a certain level. Sometimes especially in the early levels, gear for another class might be better than what you got. So don't be scared to slap it on. As you get into the higher levels, typically the gear for your own class is often going to be better, and you might not have the required stats to equip a lot of the other class gear. But something that I think every player should have equipped, regardless of class, is a shield. Like I have this shield equipped here. You have 2 weapon slots, so you can I have this weapon slot, second weapon slot. So you have 2 weapon slots, and you can rotate from. And if your primary weapon of choice isn't one-handed with a shield, then I highly recommend equipping a shield that you can switch to in your second weapon slot. If your primary weapon is like a sword and shield or hammer and shield, then you're already good. You already have a shield. But if it's not, if you're like me, and your primary weapon is a 2-handed staff, in your second weapon slot, even if it's just a shield and not a one-handed weapon to go with it, which is what I did, I highly recommend equipping a shield so that you can switch to it, even if you are a ranged caster. So I promise there'll be no shortage of times you accidentally get stuck in a pile of mobs. And if you're a squishy caster, you can usually switch to your shield and block incoming damage long enough to use a mobility spell like Blink and disappear out of there, or a slow spell like Time Bubble and freeze everybody or slow them down to escape before getting one-shotted by a bunch of mobs. Or maybe even if your spells are on cooldown, or if you're out of mana, or you don't have the spells you need, which you should have those mobility spells if you're a ranged caster, then it could just buy you a few seconds of time so your party mates can nuke or aggro the mobs off of you. To be honest, as a ranged caster, this is literally the only thing I even use my secondary weapon slot for, because equipping a shield in this second weapon slot is really... Or equipping another weapon in your second weapon slot is really only more useful for melee classes. As a ranged caster, you're really just going to use your staff, because the other weapons are more melee based, and you're squishy, so you don't want to be running up there slapping people with a sword. But it's a good idea to have the shield. That way, like I said, you can switch it really quick, block incoming damage, gives you time to blink or time bubble or whatever mobility spell or slow spell you got, get out of a sticky situation, or even just buy a few seconds so your team can help you get out of a sticky situation. Very helpful to have a shield equipped. And to do that, you see I just have my staff here. Oh, here, I'm actually going to turn my looking for group off because people are trying to message me to join a group. So I got my ranged staff here shooting fireballs, but if I press F, I can then press T to block, and I can sit here and block a bunch of mobs, and then really quickly, boom, blink out there and get away before they tag me and stun me or one-shot me. So yeah, having a shield that you can quickly switch back and forth from, even as a ranged caster, is a really good idea. Alright, so my next tip is to group up. Group up. You can play big time solo if you really want to, but you are going to progress much slower than people who play in groups. The game allows solo play, but it isn't designed for it, and it does not reward it. You will be penalized in both your NFT drop rate and your XP gain by playing solo. Like I said, most people looking for a group just stand around in Watertown with their LFG on. So come back here. If you press P, this is the looking for group right here. You can toggle on and off. So yeah, you can press P to check if your LFG is toggled on and to see other players who are looking for a party. Right now, it looks like there's slim pickings. There's no one here, but if there was, I'd show right here. You can click and invite them. So you can see other players that are looking for a party that you can invite. There's no auto queue party finder. You got to get groups together the old-fashioned MMO way, at least for now. Maybe there'll be a party finder in the future, but you got to do it the manual way. You got to come to Watertown, turn this on, hope someone sends you a group invite. If they do, you can come over here and click accept. If you're not getting any group invites, you want to start forming your own. People that are looking for a group will appear here on the left side and with an invite button next to them that you'd be able to click. Looks like it's slim pickings right now. But yeah, that's what we got. That is how you find a group. But my number 6 tip is find good players to group with. This game is in early access. No one has been able to play it for more than a handful of weeks. Everybody is new to the game, and everybody does not learn at the same pace. Everybody does not take the time to watch YouTube videos. So if you're just relying on finding random groups in Watertown, you are gambling on the quality of the group you might get stuck with. And finding a group is usually pretty quick and easy. See, I just got a group invite within a matter of minutes of being on. But finding a decent group that knows what they're doing is a little more hit and miss. So join the big time Discord server. Go to the guild channel. Join a bunch of big time guild Discords. Even if you don't apply to become a member, just join them all. They often have groups running with people in a voice chat together. Or pop open Twitch and see who's streaming big time and ask in the streamer chat if they got room in their group, or join their Discord server. Streamers usually have their own Discord server where they have people that like to watch your stream and play the same games hang out. Get involved in the community and make some friends. Getting a group together in a Discord voice chat where everyone can communicate is going to deliver a better experience and faster progression than just grouping with random people in the game all the time, and half the time those people don't know what they're doing. You'd be surprised how many people make it to like level 20, 30, 40 that still play like a total noob. It's a lot. Finding a good group is challenging, and you think it would get easier once you get into higher levels. It does not, at least not this early access in the game. Hopefully that dynamic will change as more people get more experienced and more educated on the game. But for now, really, at any level, there's a lot of idiots. So find the smart people, be their friend, play with them. Tip number 7 is check vendors often. So you can oftentimes find gear upgrades faster just checking the NPC vendors in town regularly than trying to loot gear upgrades out of dungeon runs. At least this is not for cosmetic gear NFTs, but for like, stat gear to actually buff your character. So yeah, just check, because other players that are selling stuff to vendors, other players that are selling stuff. Sorry, I got a phone call. Other players are selling stuff to vendors. You'll see their loot in the NPC vendor temporarily. So if like a higher level comes to town, just did a high level dungeon, dumps a bunch of T6 stuff because it's not their class into the vendor, you can go swoop that up. That's why it's also really good to check like the Icy Waste Outpost vendors, because those NPCs are right by the zone where all the highest level dungeons are, and so that's really a good place to scoop up some T6, T5 gear. Way sooner than you would get it out of dungeons yourself. That is actually how I got my Chronomancer decked out in T4 to T6 gear when he was, just in his early teen levels, was just scooping that stuff up out of vendors. So yeah, make sure you're checking the NPCs in Watertown and the Ice Waste Outpost for some sweet gear upgrades. You'll often find them faster there than looting them out of dungeons. And also, different NPCs pay different amounts for gear. So if you're going to sell, like if you have a bunch of gear for a class that you're not playing or just sucks, you're going to go sell it to a vendor in town. There's usually 5 or 6 vendors in town. Go click on all of them real quick, because some of them will pay you more for that gear than others. So check vendors often, both for when finding gear or trying to find gear and upgrade gear, and when trying to sell gears. Check around different vendors. All right, tip number 8 is use pocket watches for extra inventory. So you have your main inventory space. Let me show you. You got your main inventory space here, and then you got these 2 bag spaces. Got your 2 bag spaces that extend your inventory. Now your main inventory is universal, meaning if I switch this pocket watch with another pocket watch, this stuff that's in this main inventory will still be here. So if I come up here and grab this one, oops, switch to this one, come back to inventory, all the stuff that was right here is still here, but since it doesn't have any bags on them, there's nothing down here. Now if you had bags on them, we'd have extended inventory, but what's in the bags would be tied to this pocket watch. But this main inventory is universal. So what's a good idea is any extra pocket watches you have in your inventory, put bags on them. So if you're running through a dungeon, you see a bag, switch to another pocket watch, pick it up with that pocket watch really quick. That way that pocket watch has bags on it. And then when this main inventory fills up, you can switch between pocket watches and use those inventory bags on other pocket watches to extend your inventory, because your inventory is very limited at first. The bags you'll find early game are probably only going to have like 3 or 4 slots on them. So especially later in the game, it's not quite as big of a deal because you got these bigger bag spaces. But early game, your bags only have a few slots. Your main inventory is pretty small, and so if you just start putting bags on every pocket watch you find, and you can switch between pocket watches to extend your inventory and kind of hack that limited inventory space you're stuck with early game. So yeah, that's basically it. Use pocket watches to expand your inventory space. So put bags on each pocket watch you find, and then you can use those pocket watches with bags on them for extra inventory and just quickly switch out between pocket watches. So I can move something. So I'm using this pocket watch for something I want to move to my other inventory. I would just move it up to this main inventory out of my bag, switch to that pocket watch, and then move it into the bag on that pocket watch, and then switch back, and then boom. I just got lots of other inventory early game. So that's another reason why you want to be saving those pocket watches you find early game, even if they're low tier and you're never going to use them. Just save those pocket watches to hack the inventory system and have extra inventory space. And that leads me to my next tip. Leave your lowest tier bag empty. Like I said, early game, the bags you pick up are only going to have like 3 or 4 spots, and you only have 2 of them. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to leave one of these bags empty. And the reason for that is you're going to want to find a better bag soon. And in order to pick up that better bag that you find, you're going to have to drop one of these bags. You can't just pick it up. So I'm going to have to, say this bag only had 4 slots, and I find a higher tier bag that has like 6 slots. In order to pick that bag up, I got to drop this one and then pick that next one up. But if this one is full of stuff, then I'm also dropping a bunch of stuff, which is really, really annoying. There's nothing more frustrating than having a bag full of stuff you want to keep and a better bag with more inventory space you want to pick up. So in the early game, at least, I recommend leaving your lowest tier bag completely empty so that you can drop it and quickly replace it with a better bag without having to also drop and pick up a bunch of stuff that you are carrying. It's because in a fast-paced dungeon run where mobs are either trying to kill you or party mates are waiting for you to catch up, this is a pain to deal with. And you just want to be able to drop your bag and pick up your upgraded bag quickly. Once you got like T5, T6 bags, by all means, fill them suckers up. But early game, leave one empty so that you can replace it with a better one, because you will likely find a better one pretty quick. And my last tip is, when in doubt, relog. So for my final tip, when in doubt, relog. What do I mean by that? The game is still in early access, so as expected, it still has quite a few bugs to deal with. Luckily, most of them aren't game-breaking and can easily be fixed or worked around. One thing that seems to fix a large handful of these bugs is just simply logging out and back in. Can't see your NFTs in your cosmetics tab, which is where your NFTs show up. Relog. Can't see your friends in your group anymore. Relog. Can't see the party chat right here where you talk to people. It only says zone, global, and damage, but if you're in a party, you also have party chat, and sometimes it'll just disappear and you can't see people are saying. Relog. Did your group all enter the same portal, but somehow you ended up in another instance by yourself instead of with the rest of the group? Relog. The classic troubleshooting 101, turn it off and back on again trick will solve a lot of the bugs you encounter while playing early access. And bada bang. So yeah, there's my 10 tips for you. And alright, so that wraps up my quick beginner's guide for new players. I'll probably put out some more extensive guides once the game has its full global launch. This early access version of the game is really just a demo of the basic game loop and only includes a fraction of the game's content and systems. So I didn't want to put a ton of time and effort into making a guide that will likely become dated pretty quickly. So like I said, I just logged in the game, typed out a quick script, started recording. Not going to do any editing on this. It's just going to be rough guide of me babbling. But like I said, once the full global launch happens, I'll likely put out a better, more extensive guide. I just wanted to get something out quickly for you early access players to try to help some of you guys out. But yeah, so I wanted to keep this guide, simple, low effort, because it'll become dated pretty quickly. But I will be making more extensive updated guides, beginner guides in the near future. So if you like content like this, then please slap that like button and subscribe button and come hang out in a live stream sometime. Come vibe out. Again, all my links are in the description down below. Thank you for watching.